I haven't learned how to retire yet. I was a manufacturing CEO for 18 years after I closed my law shop. And I still manage some property for my principal client and do a couple other things, including some property rights issues. Some of you might know me because I was actually the initiator of something called the Lakefront Lawsuit in Wilson Beach. I'm running for state senate because I want to change Ohio. First and foremost, I want to change your politics, because your politics, the rules of your politics are absolutely Byzantine. We just went through a small piece of it. But we don't treat the roughly half of Ohioans who aren't a Republican or Democrat fairly, or with any respect. We don't treat a lot of candidates with respect. We have crazy gerrymandered districts that are totally inappropriate, that control who you can vote for and who's going to hold it, and let small minorities control who are going to be your representatives. I want to see open primaries where all candidates can qualify. I want to see ranked choice voting where you have to have a majority to win in a primary and a general election. I want to see campaign finance reform. If you ever studied campaign finance law, it is cooked up so that the big money folks can pour their money into certain races. In this race, 4 years ago, the Republicans spent $1.3 million, of which $1 million came from state party funds. But you could only give $12,700 if you gave the maximum. 8 years ago, they spent 1.4, including about $1 million party funds. But you can't do that. Only they can do that. They're keeping control of you. So I want to change all those rules. I want to make your voice count. Number two, I want to slash spending. I want to slash regulation. I want to slash taxes. And I want to restore the power to your local governments, not the feds, not the state, you folks. And that's because, number three, we, the libertarians, believe in you. We don't believe in government. I used to be a Republican, most of you know that. Ran as a Republican. I did not leave the Republican Party. The Republican Party managed to lead me over 20, 25 years. I believe, and I've always said, government doesn't really do things well, ever. Doesn't do things with excellence. They do things mediocre. They do things competently on their best day. Unfortunately, government has very few good days. So we should only give government that which government must do. And we should give it as close as we can to you so you can keep an eye on it. So I want to protect your choices. I want to protect your choice whether you carry a gun, whether you own a gun. If you don't violate the law, if you don't hurt somebody, you should have the right to do as you choose. I want to protect your right to educate your children in the way that you want. I want you to love who you want, marry who you want, determine whether you're going to reproduce or not on your own. Those are your choices. Those aren't my choices. I might make different choices in many of those cases, but they're not my choices, they're yours. And lastly, I want to do massive criminal justice reform. We talked about it, Issue 1. There are roughly 50,000 people in state prisons right now. State prisons take up real close to 30% of your state tax dollars. About 50,000 or so, a little more than that, per prison. 20,000 of those people have only been put in prison because they possessed or used a drug. We could probably get them off drugs a whole lot easier in other ways to treat them and not give them a criminal record. We are practicing mass incarceration. We're especially practicing mass incarceration on poor folks who can't afford good lawyers to get them out. We need to stop that. We need to stop criminalizing everything we possibly can. one of our candidates in another state, Larry Sharp, some of you may have heard of, had a great line. I always, when I steal somebody's line, I give them credit. At the end of every law, we should trust you working with your neighbors, not trying to run your lives. That's what I stand for. Look forward to your questions. Appreciate it.
You mentioned something about ranked choice voting. Could you clarify
Sure.
what that is?
It would be a system where you would take all the candidates running and you would rank as many of them as you choose to rank. You can just vote for one, or you can vote for 10 if there's 10 on the ballot, 1 through 10. If your first place candidate wins, it gets a majority and discussion. If nobody gets a majority, then we take off number 10 and we re-vote. But whoever voted for number 10 is one, there's number 2 vote counts. And so forth and so on, until we actually have a majority of people voting for a person. It means instead of, when you choose the lesser of 2 evils, what happens is you elect an evil. Instead, we get a system where you vote for the best person. And at the end of the ranked choice voting process is the most bestest person who won.
With the ideology that you expressed, are you supporting issue 1?
Yes, and there are a couple problems with it, and I'll admit it. And I would far prefer that we didn't have to do this by constitutional amendment. The problem, as was referred to, is legislatures don't do their jobs anymore. They work on getting themselves reelected. Or, in my case, one's term limited, so we swap offices and run for something else. So I would rather legislators dealt with things effectively, but they haven't. And the drug problem is one of our biggest problems today. It needs treatment of addiction. It does not need putting a lot of people in cages and throwing away the key and keeping them from paying child support and keeping them from having good jobs down the line because they hurt nobody except themselves.
That's not true. Drug dealers kill people.
Now,
Hold on. And the majority of the people who are in jail because of drugs are not there because they were one-time users or persistent users of marijuana. They're there, the majority, the vast majority, overwhelming majority, are there because they've dealt in drugs. And those people are killing people. The issue is not treatment. The issue is prevention. The issue is education. And issue 1 does not address either of those 2 last topics.
I have great respect for you, Chris, but I'm sorry, that's not correct.
I can give you the statistics.
The sale of drugs is not decriminalized by issue 1. It says nothing about selling drugs to others.
Exactly.
It says using
Yes.
and possessing.
Yes.
And generally speaking, with one exception, and I admit that there is some odd glitch in current state law, and it's called the legislators, not the drafters of the initiative, and that is that apparently 20 grams of fentanyl is under the bulk amount that was created by the legislature, not these. Okay, so the law says if it isn't the bulk amount, that it's personal possession, and that's what the initiative adopts. With respect to the 20,000, my understanding is the 20,000 is there because possession or use, not dealing. Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you very much.